Let's begin now.
How's it everyone, Grant here, and welcome back to another camera comparison video with the HTC U12 Plus. Today I think I've got a pretty tough competitor in the Huawei P20 Pro with its Leica branded triple camera setup on the rear. It's supposed to be amazing in low light, so I think this will be a very good camera comparison here. And as usual, I'll show you a bunch of photos and video from both the front and rear facing cameras in all kinds of lighting conditions, so hopefully that gives you a good idea of how these cameras stack up against each other and whether or not they're worth the high-end price tags. And so from what I'm seeing right now, the HTC U12 Plus has a wider field of view, so I can fit more in the picture, but it also seems to be boosting the colors a bit. My face really isn't that red, while the P20 Pro is on the other side of the spectrum where it's kind of washing out a lot of the picture and the colors. But that's kind of enough of the setup, I think, from me. Let's just get to the rest of the photos and videos so you can kind of decide for yourself. Hey everyone, so here we are in my favorite camera test spot in the park with both the U12 Plus and the P20 Pro. And I'll go ahead and hold it still here so you can get a feel for what the still footage looks like. And I'll pan over to the cell tower now and we'll test the zoom on the U12 Plus. So there's 2x optical and max 4x digital zoom there. So nice and clear, being only a 4x digital zoom, and very steady as well. As we pan over to the right, nice smooth pan there. Back it out. And we'll test the zoom on the P20 Pro. So no optical zoom here on the video side of things. And so we'll go ahead and just zoom in digitally. So that's about a 4 times digital zoom there. And that looks pretty clear, actually. It really looks really nice and steady. And it goes to a max 10 times digital zoom. And wow, that is really clear for a digital zoom, especially at 10 times. And very, very steady as well. So that's pretty impressive there on the P20 Pro. And I'll go ahead and pan over to the right here. Really nice and steady and very, very crisp for a 10 times digital zoom. And I'll back that all the way out. And we can test stabilization first on the U12 Plus here on the post. So autofocus speeds on the U12 Plus are pretty good here, as well as refocus away. And we'll test the P20 Pro now. So a little bit longer there, but refocus nice and quick. And still not locked in. There we go. So focus speeds seem to take a little bit longer here on the P20 Pro, but they're locked in a little bit faster. One more time just to see, and much faster there again. So a little bit longer the first time around, but last couple times pretty good. We can test the stabilization here at 1080p. This is 30 frames per second. And so they both should be stabilizing pretty well here at this resolution and frame rate. And I'll do one last pan around the park so you can kind of see what this looks like into the afternoon sun. And we can test stabilization here. We'll just walk around so you can kind of see what the stabilization is like at 1080p 60 frames per second on both these phones, in case you want to use them at a higher frame rate here and walk around and shoot some video. So hopefully that gives you a better idea for how 1080p 60 frames per second performs on both phones here in some pretty good daylight. And we're back with the same scene in the park, this time at 4K 30 frames per second on each. And the U12 Plus has a 6-minute time limit recording, while the P20 Pro caps out at 10 minutes. And so I'll leave that steady for a bit so you can kind of see what the picture quality looks like. And we'll test the zoom here at the cell tower again at 4K. So here 2 times optical zoom there on the U12 Plus, and 4 times max digital zoom still here. And we'll pan to the right, still nice and smooth at 4 times digital. Back it out, and we'll test the zoom on the P20 Pro. Still no 2 times optical zoom at 4K. We'll go out to 4 times digital zoom there. Still very nice and clear at 4K. And all the way up to 10 times max digital. And that is still looking really nice and clear and incredibly steady. This is probably the best digital zoom that I've seen on a phone at this close zoom, 10 times digital zoom. That's pretty impressive. Both clarity and stabilization on the P20 Pro here. Back it all the way out. We can test autofocus speeds at 4K. So here we go with the U12 Plus. Still nice and quick. Refocus as well. Nice and quick. And one more time. And we'll test it on the P20 Pro now. There we go. Was a little slow at 1080p, and refocus finally got there. So focus speeds are kind of hit and miss. That was pretty quick on the P20 Pro. And one more time just to see. So I think U12 Plus has the better autofocus speeds here. And we'll go ahead and do some stabilization as I walk down the stairs at 4K. So this is where stabilization gets more challenging. So we'll see how both these phones stabilize at 4K. The U12 Plus is usually pretty good. Let's see how the P20 Pro compares. And again, one last pan on the park at 4K here. And here we are outdoors in the park with the front-facing cameras from the U12 Plus and P20 Pro. And I just want to give you a good idea of how these cameras perform in some daylight here. I'm standing in the shade, and so I'll kind of step back into a little bit more of the sun, so you can kind of see how the cameras handle the changing light here. And the one thing I've noticed on the P20 Pro is that this front-facing camera for both still photos and video seems to produce a really washed out picture. At least that's what I'm seeing here in the viewfinder. And so I'll go ahead and pan around so you can kind of see how the cameras adjust to the changing light here. And I'll go a full 360 so you can kind of get a feel for that. And the U12 Plus also has a much wider field of view than the P20 Pro, so you can fit more in the picture there. And I'll walk and talk so you can kind of judge the stabilization from these cameras as well. So hopefully this gives you a good idea of how both of these cameras are performing in some natural daylight here in the afternoon, as well as what the stabilization kind of looks like. Hey everyone, so here's some low light camera footage being shot at 1080p 30 frames per second. I'll just kind of leave this still here so you can kind of see the still image. And then I'll test the zoom, so 2 times zoom on the U12 Plus there. And max 4 times digital there. Back it back out. We'll test the zoom here on the P20 Pro. So that's about 2 times zoom there. There's no 2 times optical. And max zoom at 10 times, which is pretty much unusable in low light, as you can see. So we'll back that out to the 4 times zoom that the U12 Plus has right there. And that's looking a lot better, a little more usable, which is understandable here in some low light. Back it all the way out. And we'll go test stabilization here at 1080p in low light. which is pretty hard to stabilize. Sometimes you see a lot of jitteriness in low light. So let me know what you're seeing and what you think about this footage here. And we can go ahead and test stabilization by just walking here. So hopefully this gives you some idea of how these cameras perform here at a high frame rate, like 60 frames per second, at 1080p in some low light here, and how they can even stabilize at that frame rate. And here's the same scene being shot at 4K 30 frames per second this time around. The U12 Plus looks a little bit grainy, at least in the viewfinder, but let's test out the zoom. So there's 2x zoom there. And again, max 4x digital. Definitely grainy. And pull it back. And so zoom on the P20 Pro. Again, no optical zoom here, so let's see, that's roughly 2x zoom there, digital. And that's max 10x, again, pretty much unusable in low light. We'll back it out to about 4x. So that's 4x zoom there on the P20 Pro. And we'll zoom it all the way back out. And again, we'll do stabilization test. Again, just walk here and see how these stabilize in low light at 4K. Again, 30 frames per second here on both phones. Hey everyone, so here's some low light footage from the front facing cameras. I want to give you a feel for what it looks like outdoors. I've just got a street light above me and that's pretty much it. And I'll pan around so you can kind of see how the camera reacts to the changing light. But again, the U12 Plus has a wider field of view, so better for vlogging if you like that stuff, or if you just want to fit more people in the frame. U12 Plus is going to be good for that. And I'll just walk so you can kind of get a sense for the stabilization from these front facing cameras in some low light here. Hey everyone, so I just want to end this video with some indoor low light footage from the front facing cameras, as well as tell you a little bit what I thought about the cameras. So like I've said before in other videos, I still think the U12 Plus has the best overall set of cameras on a phone, probably here in 2018 so far. They may not be the best in any one area of the camera, but they are at the top in pretty much all areas. So again, I still think the U12 Plus is one of the best, if not the best, set of overall cameras on a smartphone here in 2018. And as far as the P20 Pro, I was definitely impressed with it. I still think the AI oversaturates and overboosts some of the colors, but the low light performance definitely lives up to the hype. The images come out very clean in low light, so you're going to get very dark blacks and pretty much little to no light flare. So very clean low light images from the P20 Pro, and probably the best digital zoom I've seen on any smartphone. So even at 10x max digital zoom, the P20 Pro's zoom is just very, very clean and a very nice image quality. So probably the best zoom on any smartphone that I've seen so far as well. Where it fails on the P20 Pro is pretty much the front-facing camera. It just washes out all the photos and video, pretty much more on the photo side than on the video side, but photos and video don't really look very good. They look very washed out to me, so that was a big disappointment, I think, on the P20 Pro, was the front-facing cameras. They're just not very good at all. So that's just what I think about the cameras, but I want to hear more about what you think. So leave a comment down below and let me know which you thought did better overall, or maybe you preferred a certain area of one camera over the other. Maybe you liked one for low light, another one for video, etc. So let me know in the comments which camera you thought did better here. And as always, thanks for watching.